Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, peace be unto you. Welcome back. This is 1 Samuel chapter 3, but we're calling it 1 Kingdoms chapter 3. There are 21 verses in this chapter. Beginning in verse 1, it's mostly terminology differences, but let's see if it's worth your time. Distinct vision versus open vision. Number 2, or I should say verse 2, describes how Eli was sleeping versus lying down or had laid down. You're going to see this continuous difference throughout the narrative. And then it describes his eyes, Eli's eyes, as beginning to fail versus waxing dim. Verse 3 talking about what time it was. It was before it was trimmed, the lamp, versus before it went out. So we can see that it's not simply being self-extinguished, it is being extinguished by trimming of the wick. And then we see Samuel slept versus just lying down. Again, lying down does not seem to enforce that he is sleeping. He could simply lie down with your eyes open. But in the Septuagint, it is clear both Eli and Samuel were sleeping. Verse 4, Adonai calls out Samuel, Samuel, says his name twice, really getting his attention, versus just one Samuel in the Masoretic. So I noticed that it might seem like a minor difference, but if you hear something that sounds like a voice or is a voice, and it is indeed the voice of Elohim calling to you, and he's calling you twice, that is not just a coincidence. It's not you hearing things, it's reinforcing, yes, you are hearing a voice speaking to you. So Samuel, Samuel, or in the Hebrew, Shmuel. Verse 5, go to sleep, is the instruction to from Eli to Samuel, versus lie down. Again, continuous difference throughout the text. Verse 9, it's an addition of the name Hashem or Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh. Verse 10, I'm going to ignore that one. Verse 11, it says here, behold, this is the words of Adonai speaking to Shmuel, to Samuel. Behold, I execute my words in Israel, versus I will do a thing. So in either case, he is performing something, but it is more specific as to what he is doing. It is my words. He is fulfilling his words. Verse 12, raise up. Okay, I don't see where it says raise up. Oh, here it is. I will raise up against Eli versus I will perform against Eli. So that's a terminology difference. Semantics, verse 12, again, against his house versus concerning his house. So one is clearly more strong language versus just concerning, regarding your house. No, it's really against your house. This is something of a condemnation, if I could use that word. I will begin and I will make an end versus when I begin. So we can see there's more certainty in this statement in the Septuagint. It will be done versus it may or may not be done. It's kind of open to interpretation. Verse 13, avenged. I will be avenged on his house versus I will judge his house. So it's not merely Adonai judging the house of Eli. He's being avenged because his name, his sons put shame on the name of Adonai. So it's not simply, a slap on the wrist. This is something personal. Significant difference, our first one in this chapter. In verse 13, it says here, iniquities of the sons, of his sons. So that's the reason he is avenging on the house of Eli, because of the iniquities of his sons, versus I will judge for the iniquity which he knows. So it's more specific in the Septuagint. However, it does go on in the Masoretic to describe what it is. It's his sons doing something, and we're going to look at this this next difference. It's actually a big difference, our first big difference in the chapter. Excuse me. It says, his sons spoke evil against Elohim, and he did not admonish them. What does it say in the Masoretic? It says, his sons his sons made themselves vile. They didn't speak anything, they just made themselves vile. And he restrained them not. So meaning, he didn't hold them back. Whereas in the Septuagint, he's not supposed to simply hold them back. He's supposed to admonish them, correct them, tell them what they should be doing. Verse 14. Okay, why is this a big difference? Let me just rewind a little bit. Because they spoke evil against Elohim. They didn't just make themselves reprehensible or disgusting. They spoke evil words against Elohim. You could possibly hypothetically say that could be blasphemy, perhaps. Perhaps it was blasphemous speech. We don't know. But they spoke evil against Elohim. Whether it was in their heart or out loud, but they did speak evil, and that's the judgment. That's the witness of Elohim. He speaks the truth. And it shall not go on. This was inserted, the it shall and go on. So, and not so is the actual wording, but just to give it more sense, the translators decided to insert some words here, and it shall not go on. So, this kind of behavior, perhaps. Verses, therefore have I sworn. So we can see one is is Yah saying, this behavior shall not continue. So this is what will happen as a result. Versus, and so, they did these actions and so. So we can see that he's not condoning their behavior in either, but he's more stern as to whether he approves of those actions or not. We can see definitely does not. Verse 15, there's an omission of rising early in the morning. So we can see that he lay until the morning. So this could mean Samuel slept in the Masoretic. Perhaps he woke up at 11 a.m., I don't know, around lunchtime. But it says in the Masoretic, no, he slept. But he rose early in the morning. So that could be most likely 9 o'clock or before that, possibly 6 a.m. perhaps. But in any case, it is early in the morning. So that's important for looking into the behavioral patterns of Samuel as a boy. Verse 17, word versus the thing. In verse 18, we're going to ignore that one. However, there is Eli. This is a significant difference. It says, and Eli said, he is Adonai. He shall do that which is good in his sight. Versus, and he said. So, in the Septuagint, it's Eli speaking, saying the statement here. Whereas in the Masoretic, this is Samuel talking. So that is a significant difference. The other difference is the statement itself, he is Adonai, or the name, Yod-Heh-Waw-Heh, he shall do that which is good in his sight, versus it is Yah, let him do what seems him good. So in the Septuagint, it's saying that Adonai has sovereignty, versus in the Masoretic, well, allow him to do what seems good. Let him do it, permit him, like we're giving him permission to do what he wants to do, which doesn't make sense. So again, that's just illogical in the Masoretic. So let him do what is, or not let him, but he will do what is good in his own judgment. And I should say, another difference is the actual good here. It says, do that which is good in his sight, according to the judgment of Adonai, versus what seems him good. Okay, so good is not really defined as to what seems him good. It's what Adonai seems good, what he's judging to be good, perhaps. But it's just, I think the wording is a little more confusing in the Masoretic, whereas the Septuagint describes how that is defined. It is doing good in his sight. Okay, I hope that made sense. Verse 19. There did not fall one of his words to the ground. That would be the words of Elohim to the ground, versus and did not let none of his words fall to the ground. Okay, I don't see the difference there. Samuel grew, Adonai was with him, there did not fall one of his words to the ground. So are these the words of Samuel or of Adonai? Verses, I think they're the words of Adonai, just for the record. Samuel grew, Adonai was with him, and did let none of his words. So this seems to be implying that Adonai did not let Samuel's words fall to the ground. So it's a little more clear in the Masoretic that they're saying it's Samuel's words, and Adonai supported his words, whereas in the Septuagint it can be interpreted either or. So it's a little more vague in the Septuagint, in my opinion. And there is an addition as well in the same. It says let. It says let. Okay, so he did let none. So it implies that Samuel did not let these words fall, and did let none of his words. Okay, so it seems to imply that Samuel is not letting Adonai's words fall to the ground. Okay. So I kind of reversed what I just said after reading that more in depth. The Septuagint implies that Adonai did not let Samuel's words fall. Okay. I don't know if I'm just confusing myself right now. Let's just rewind, okay? So in the Masoretic it says let, which implies Samuel did not let these words fall, versus the implication in the Septuagint that Adonai did not let Samuel's words fall. Or perhaps his own words. Okay. That is ambiguous, I have to admit. Let's just read it slowly. Samuel grew, Adonai was with him, Samuel, and there did not fall one of his words to the ground. So it seems to be Samuel's words. Or it could be Adonai's words. Again, that is ambiguous. Masoretic, let's look at that. Samuel grew, Adonai was with him, Samuel, and did let none of his words fall to the ground. So that seems to be Adonai supporting Samuel's words. Okay, moving on. Verse 20, significant difference. Faithful as a prophet to Adonai, versus he was established to be a prophet. So that is a significant difference because it shows Samuel's faith. It shows how his level of quality of character, perhaps. Whereas being established to be a prophet does show reputation, but doesn't describe his character. Verse 21, there's an omission of, actually a large omission. It says, and Samuel was accredited to all Israel as a prophet to Adonai. So it's pretty much saying established to. From one end of the land to the other, and Eli was very old, and his sons kept advancing in wickedness, and their way was evil before Adonai. So that is a lot of information that was omitted, that is pertinent, is important to the narrative, talking about how they continued in their evil. And Eli's his age, and also talking about Samuel's reputation, although it does talk about that a little vaguely in the Masoretic, but it's a lot more clear just how far his reputation spread. It says here from Dan to Beersheba. It does say that as well here, but it kind of goes the extra mile in the Septuagint, saying from one end of the land of Israel to the other. So that's all for this chapter. Thank you very much for your time. Till next time, we'll look at 1 Samuel 4, 1 Kingdoms chapter 4. And I bid you all Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, and peace be unto you. Maranatha.